The internet didn't just react to the Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees situation, it detonated into a nonstop storm of rumors, conspiracy threads, and digital chaos that seemed to multiply by the minute, turning what should have been a simple moment into a full-blown cultural event. It started with a single vague post, no names, no context. Just enough emotion and ambiguity to spark curiosity on within seconds. Screenshots began circulating across X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Reddit. Each platform building its own narrative as if pieces of an unsolved mystery had suddenly dropped into the public's lap. Fan pages began posting unconfirmed but developing updates. Gossip logs claimed to have anonymous insiders feeding them exclusive details. And reaction channels rushed to upload dramatic thumbnails, warning viewers that something huge was happening behind the scenes. Some users insisted Tamar and Mendeecees had been quietly dealing with private tension for months. Others swore this was a manufactured distraction. And a surprising number argued that the entire episode was a calculated PR setup, proof that the entertainment industry thrives on controlled chaos. But no matter which theory people believed, one thing was undeniable. Everyone wanted answers, and they wanted them immediately. Every deleted comment, every unfollow, every hour of silence became evidence, fueling even more speculation as timelines refreshingly filled with weight. Did you see this? Posts. TikTok detectives began stitching old clips, analyzing tone, facial expressions, and body language like forensic experts, while Reddit threads turned into investigative archives documenting every rumor, no matter how wild. Meanwhile, both Tamar and Mendeecees remained silent, not confirming, not denying, not acknowledging, and that silence created a massive information vacuum the internet was more than willing to fill. Influencers hinted they knew more than they could say. Fan groups divided into factions defending or blaming one side. And people who had never interacted with either celebrity suddenly became experts on their personal lives. The digital energy felt frantic, breathless, unstoppable, like millions collectively inching closer to their screens, waiting for the next domino to fall. And as the online noise grew louder, as theories clashed and timelines flooded with half-truths disguised as facts, a single question echoed across every platform, uniting both critics and supporters in shared confusion. What is actually happening between Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees? Why is the internet being left to figure it out on its own? What began as scattered whispers about Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees quickly evolved into a full-scale digital shockwave, spreading faster than anyone could track. As blogs, podcasts, YouTube commentators, and celebrity news outlets raced to cover the unfolding drama, each adding their own spin, urgency, or alleged insider detail that only intensified the online hysteria. Major gossip platforms published hourly updates, often based on vague, unverified screenshots or anonymous sources claiming to be close to the situation, and once those posts circulated, fans treated them as undeniable truth, sharing and reposting without hesitation. Twitter timelines transformed into emotional battlegrounds. Instagram comment sections filled with theories, sympathy, anger, and judgment. And TikTok creators began producing multi-part investigative series, dissecting every rumor like it was a matter of national importance. People weren't just curious anymore, they were emotionally invested, defending the celebrity they aligned with as if protecting a close friend, convinced their interpretation was the most accurate. Longtime Tamar supporters began revisiting past interviews, analyzing lyrics, and pulling old clips to argue that the signs had always been there, while those who followed Mendeecees insisted the narrative was being exaggerated, if not outright fabricated. And with every new angle, whether a cryptic post, a subtle like, or a mysteriously deleted comment, the speculation snowballed, creating an endless loop of interpretation and reaction. Even neutral fans who normally avoided drama found themselves unable to look away, refreshing their feeds for updates they didn't necessarily believe, but still needed to read, just in case something big finally surfaced. Meanwhile, entertainment blogs continued escalating the tension by suggesting upcoming exposés, secret documents, or public statements that never actually appeared, keeping audiences suspended in anticipation. The emotional stakes heightened further when strangers online began projecting their personal experiences onto the situation, turning Tamar and Mendeecees into symbolic figures representing betrayal, resilience, love, or manipulation, depending on the storyteller. It became less about what actually happened and more about what people wanted or feared was true. And the deeper this obsession grew, the more impossible it became to separate reality from digitally manufactured drama. Because every new rumor, no matter how implausible, gained traction simply due to repetition. The shockwaves didn't just spread, they embedded themselves into the internet's collective consciousness, creating a cultural moment where millions watched, speculated, argued, and emotionally spiraled together, waiting for clarity that still hadn't arrived. And through it all, one thing became painfully obvious. This was no longer just a trending story, it had become a psychological fixation, leaving fans and observers asking the same urgent question: how did Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees end up at the center of the internet's newest obsession? And where does it lead from here? Behind the viral headlines and nonstop commentary, the most intense impact of the Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees scandal allegedly unfolded inside Yandy Smith and Mendeecees' home, where insiders claim the energy shifted from stable and united to strained, tense, and emotionally distant almost overnight, as curiosity from the outside world turned into private discomfort within their household. According to circulating reports and online speculation, what began as harmless gossip soon became unavoidable, creeping into daily routines, dinner conversations, and moments that once felt normal, forcing Yandy to navigate a digital wildfire she never asked for. Social media detectives began monitoring her posts like surveillance footage, analyzing captions, facial expressions, and outfit choices for signs of distress. While every unfollow or missing photo sparked new theories suggesting something deeper was happening behind closed doors. Some alleged that Mendeecees had grown quieter and more withdrawn, spending more time away from home or glued to his phone, attempting to manage the narrative, while others speculated that Yandy's usual warmth and openness had been replaced with carefully measured calm, as if protecting herself from emotional impact or public embarrassment. Even the smallest shiftless smiling in videos, fewer family-themed posts. Subtle changes in tone became evidence to the internet, fueling claims that unresolved conversations, distrust, and emotional exhaustion were taking root. Reports suggested the couple might have disagreed on how to address the public frenzy, whether to deny, ignore, or wait it out, and that difference alone intensified the atmosphere, turning silence into a shared yet unspoken burden. Friends allegedly noticed a change too, describing Yandy as more reflective, cautious, and selective about who she let close, while Mendeecees seemed determined to carry on normally, refusing to give the rumor more power than it already had. Inside the home, the emotional distance wasn't loud or explosive, it was quiet, heavy, and lingering, the kind of tension that slowly reshapes communication, trust, and comfort. Parenting, scheduling, and everyday responsibilities continued. But beneath the routine sat a growing uncertainty. Neither could publicly acknowledge without feeding the internet's obsession. And as the online conversation evolved from curiosity to accusation, the pressure reportedly intensified, turning their relationship into an involuntary spectacle people felt entitled to analyze. Whether the rumors hold truth or not, one reality feels undeniable: this controversy didn't just create drama online. It seeped into private spaces, leaving millions wondering the same thing. How much strain is the Tamar Braxton scandal really placing on Yandy and Mendeecees' marriage, and can their home withstand the world watching? As the controversy surrounding Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees continued to dominate online spaces, the internet's curiosity took a sharper turn. When alleged sightings and vague descriptions of the two appearing in the same places began circulating, igniting a fresh wave of speculation that pushed the narrative beyond simple rumor and into the territory of possible connection. Anonymous social media accounts claimed they had seen Tamar and Mendeecees at a lounge in Atlanta, a charity event in New York, or leaving a production studio minutes apart and supported by photos, timestamps, or official confirmation, yet somehow convincing enough for fans desperate to fill in the blanks. A blurry, questionably cropped image became the centerpiece of a trending thread, analyzed like forensic evidence, while another post described overhearing a too-friendly conversation, sparking thousands of retweets and reaction videos. What made the situation even messier was how every new alleged interaction, packaged in ambiguity vague enough to avoid accountability, but detailed enough to deepen suspicion. Some fans argued that Tamar and Mendeecees simply shared industry circles, mutual friends, or professional obligations, insisting the internet was stretching harmless coincidences into scandal because chaos generates clicks. Others, however, treated every rumor as confirmation, convinced the sightings were intentionally discreet, the timing deliberate, and the silence from both parties strategically protective. YouTube commentators began constructing timelines, matching city check-ins, event appearances, and travel schedules to suggest overlap, while Reddit users created investigative maps tracking locations like true crime detectives. The online divide grew sharper. Tamar defended her character and denied she'd ever jeopardize another woman's marriage, while supporters of Yandy expressed concern, frustration, and betrayal on her behalf. And then there were those who didn't care about facts at all. They cared about entertainment, sharing memes, jokes, and dramatic predictions that turned real people's lives into digital sport. Even harmless gestures like in a post promoting a show or being photographed near a similar background became evidence for conspiracy theorists. The more the alleged connection was discussed, the more believable it became. Not because proof existed, but because repetition created a sense of inevitability. Meanwhile, Tamar and Mendeecees' refusal to address the ongoing theories only intensified the frenzy, allowing imaginations to run wild while protecting themselves legally and publicly. And as the internet continued spiraling, one unresolved question loomed over every thread, comment, and fan debate: are Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees truly linked in a way the public isn't supposed to know, or has the online world completely created a storyline that never existed? As the Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees rumors continue to dominate online spaces, a powerful emotional shift unfolded across social media suddenly. The internet wasn't just observing the drama. It was rallying around Yandy Smith with fierce protectiveness, empathy, and vocal support, turning her into the emotional center of a story she never asked to be part of. Comment sections filled with messages of encouragement, prayers, empowerment quotes, and reminders of her strength, while users openly expressed how heartbreaking it must feel to have millions dissecting your marriage in real time. People imagined her emotional state: confused, blindsided, exhausted. Her, especially considering her public history of loyalty, resilience, and commitment throughout Mendeecees' legal battles, career challenges, and family responsibilities. Fans circulated old clips of Yandy speaking about love, perseverance, and partnership, framing them as proof she deserved better, while others reposted moments highlighting her kindness, business achievements, and dedication as a mother, reinforcing that she should be celebrated, not humiliated by rumor-driven chaos. The tone online wasn't just sympathetic, it was deeply personal, as if viewers were witnessing a friend go through something painful in public. Many women projected their own experiences with betrayal, emotional distance, or disrespect, turning Yandy into a symbolic figure representing dignity under pressure, inspiring hashtags like #StandWithYandyY and #ProtectBlackWomen to trend. Meanwhile, Tamar faced backlash from corners of the internet accusing her of wrongdoing without evidence, reflecting how strongly people felt about shielding Yandy's peace and reputation. Even those who didn't follow Love and Hip Hop or the Smith-Harris family found themselves emotionally invested, describing Yandy as someone who had earned public loyalty through transparency, integrity, and vulnerability over the years. Memes stitched TikToks, and reaction videos amplified the narrative that the world was collectively holding its breath. Hoping she wasn't silently suffering, some users urged her to speak up. Others insisted she shouldn't have to defend herself at all. The protectiveness became so widespread that gossip outlets began softening their tone. Recognizing that the audience's allegiance was firmly with Yandy, not the rumor mill. And beneath the digital noise, one shared sentiment echoed everywhere: if this situation were real, no woman should have to process heartbreak under a global microscope. The internet's emotional investment became a shield, a virtual embrace, a loud declaration that Yandy Smith deserved compassion and respect, leaving millions wondering, is the outrage rooted in confirmed truth, simply in the fear that someone as admired as Yandy could be hurting behind the silence? As the Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees speculation continued spiraling across the internet, what captured the public's attention even more than the rumors themselves was Mendeecees' growing silence, an intentional, heavy, almost strategic quietness that many believed signaled emotional withdrawal rather than simple avoidance, leaving fans and observers to dissect his behavior with relentless intensity. At first, his lack of response seemed understandable. Celebrities often ignore baseless gossip to prevent fueling it. But as days turned into weeks and the online storm only intensified, his refusal to address the situation began to feel like a storyline of its own. Followers noticed he had stopped posting as frequently, avoided personal content, and seemed more guarded during public appearances, interviews, or live streams, offering short answers, neutral expressions, and carefully generic statements that revealed nothing. Some interpreted his silence as maturity, a man refusing to let the internet dictate his narrative, while others viewed it as emotional distance, a quiet retreat signaling discomfort, guilt, or secret turmoil. Fans of Yandy observed subtle shifts as well, claiming Mendeecees no longer appeared as warm, affectionate, or present in shared photos or videos, sparking theories that the couple was trying to privately navigate emotional tension while publicly pretending nothing had changed. TikTok analysts slowed down old clips, comparing his tone, posture, and eye contact to newer appearances, labeling the contrast proof that something was weighing on him. Meanwhile, his silence became a blank canvas for projections. Some painted him as overwhelmed and protecting his family. Others accused him of hiding, avoiding accountability, or hoping the issue would disappear if ignored long enough. And because Tamar Braxton also chose not to engage publicly, the vacuum of information only intensified suspicions, creating a digital echo chamber where silence sounded louder than any denial could. Comment sections filled with rhetorical questions. If there's nothing going on, why won't he just say that? While others argued that speaking out might make things worse, especially if Yandy was still processing privately. Supporters defended him, insisting internet strangers had no right to demand emotional transparency from someone enduring real-life pressure behind screens. But even they admitted the quiet felt unusually prolonged, whether rooted in self-preservation, fear of escalation, legal caution, or internal conflict. Mendeecees' withdrawal became the emotional engine driving the narrative forward, keeping audiences hooked and speculative. Because at the heart of every theory, every comment, every refreshed feed, one unsettling question lingered like a haunting. Is Mendeecees silent because the rumors about Tamar Braxton are completely false, or because acknowledging them would unravel everything? Just when the internet thought it understood the Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees situation, the narrative took a sharp, unexpected twist, one that suggested Tamar may have been unknowingly pulled into the chaos rather than intentionally involved, leaving audiences confused, divided, and scrambling to reassess everything they thought they knew. As blogs, gossip pages, and social media detectives continued pushing theories, a new wave of commentary emerged, arguing that Tamar was never an active participant in the storyline at all, but instead became the convenient focal point of a rumor-hungry internet, a name powerful enough to keep the controversy alive. Supporters pointed out that Tamar hadn't made any suspicious posts, appearances, or statements prior to the speculation, nothing indicating secret meetings, coded messages, or hidden intentions, and yet her name was suddenly trending alongside headlines insinuating scandal, betrayal, and emotional fallout. Some fans argued she was simply collateral damage, dragged into a narrative constructed by exaggerated sightings, misinterpreted coincidences, and desperate attempts to attach a recognizable celebrity to an otherwise vague rumor. Others questioned whether the entire storyline stemmed from a misunderstanding, two people photographed in the same building, tagged at the same event, or mentioned in overlapping conversations, and the internet did the rest, stitching together fiction until it resembled a believable plot. Tamar's silence, once viewed as mysterious, began to feel like confusion, frustration, or even shock at being linked to something she had no awareness of, fueling sympathy from fans who worried she was watching her name, reputation, and peace be consumed by a story she didn't create. Meanwhile, commentators warned followers not to confuse speculation with confirmation, reminding them that Tamar had spent years rebuilding her life, prioritizing emotional healing, family, career stability, and personal growth, making the idea of intentionally inserting herself into someone else's marriage drama feel completely out of character. Yet, despite the growing calls for restraint, the digital world continued spinning, unable to detach her from the storyline it had already committed to. And that confusion became the emotional heartbeat of Section 7. As audiences debated whether Tamar was misunderstood, misrepresented, or misused by those chasing views, engagement, and virality, the twist left viewers feeling uneasy. If Tamar wasn't actively involved, then how did her name become the epicenter of one of the biggest internet scandals of the year? And more importantly, is Tamar Braxton now being forced to carry the weight of a storm she never saw coming, simply because the internet needed someone to blame? As the Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees controversy raged on, the online narrative took a new turn with the introduction of Travis Cure into the conversation, transforming speculation into a multi-layered storyline that focused not only on betrayal and rumors, but also on support, emotional connection, and potential new beginnings for Yandy Smith. Social media users began reporting sightings of Travis in locations connected to Yandy, from public events to casual gatherings, sparking fresh rounds of theories about whether his presence was coincidental, platonic, or something deeper. Fans dissected photographs, videos, and snippets of public interactions, emphasizing moments where his gestures seemed protective, attentive, or comforting, interpreting small touches, glances, and conversations as proof of an emotional bond forming behind the chaos. The internet's curiosity shifted from focusing solely on Tamar and Mendeecees to analyzing Travis' role. Was he simply a friend providing emotional stability? Or was he stepping into a more significant position as Yandy processed heartbreak and uncertainty? Commentary exploded with interpretations, with some users suggesting that Travis represented a calm presence amidst turmoil, someone who could offer patience, understanding, and respect when betrayal and rumors threatened to overwhelm her. Others debated whether his involvement complicated matters further, potentially provoking jealousy, misinterpretation, or escalation. Yet the overall sentiment painted him as a grounding force in a storm that had consumed the couple's private life. Discussions even extended into imagined scenarios, quiet conversations late at night, supportive messages, moments of shared laughter, or subtle reassurance during public appearances, each analyzed and magnified as if fans were witnessing the beginnings of a genuine emotional connection forming in real time. The digital community speculated about the psychological impact of his presence, noting that emotional support often fosters closeness, particularly when someone has been navigating pain and betrayal publicly, and wondered how Yandy might be leaning on him without fully realizing the attention or interpretations their interactions would draw online. As Travis Cure became a fixture in the unfolding story, he injected a new dimension into the narrative, introducing hope, trust, and potential for emotional recovery alongside the chaos of rumor and speculation. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about betrayal or scandal. It was about resilience, support systems, and the possibility that someone could emerge as a positive, stabilizing influence amid personal upheaval. And as fans watched every post, photo, and interaction, one central question began dominating discussions. Is Travis Cure simply a friend helping Yandy through a storm? Or is his presence marking the start of a completely new chapter in her life? As the Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees saga unfolded online, fans became captivated not only by rumors but by imagined confrontations that seemed to play out in Yandy Smith's mind and in their collective imagination, creating a dramatic build-up to what many perceived as her emotional breaking point. Comment sections, discussion threads, and fan-made videos depicted scenes of intense dialogue between Yandy and Mendeecees, where anger, disappointment, and heartbreak collided in private settings that the internet tried to reconstruct from hints, sightings, and social media cues. Users imagined Yandy demanding honesty, her voice trembling between fury and pain, while Mendeecees hesitated, defensive yet vulnerable, caught between regret and the desire to minimize consequences. Every pause, sidelong glance, and unsaid word became a canvas for speculation, with fans dissecting mannerisms, tone, and possible intent as if they were witnessing a real-life courtroom of emotions. Meanwhile, the tension between reality and imagination blurred, with many insisting that even if these moments never occurred publicly, they represented the natural emotional climax of someone navigating betrayal under the public eye. Some posts focused on Yandy's internal struggle, how she might replay every interaction, weigh every decision, and balance her desire for peace against the need for closure, illustrating the emotional complexity of confronting a partner suspected of secrecy. Others highlighted Mendeecees' potential perspective, depicting him as grappling with guilt, shame, or confusion, trying to justify actions while recognizing that silence and omission had already inflicted pain. The combination of imagined confrontation and public speculation amplified the intensity, leaving fans both horrified and fascinated, projecting their own experiences of betrayal and accountability onto the unfolding narrative. Social media became a stage where the private emotional stakes were analyzed, shared, and dramatized, reinforcing the feeling that Yandy's breaking point was inevitable. An emotional crescendo built from weeks of rumor, tension, and uncertainty. Even minor gestures, hesitation before responding, avoiding eye contact, or a softened tone were interpreted as signs that truth, heartbreak, and reconciliation hung in the balance. As these imagined scenarios circulated, one question dominated every discussion. Would Yandy finally confront Mendeecees with everything she had been feeling? And if so, could she emerge from the confrontation stronger? Or would the weight of betrayal and public scrutiny push her to a breaking point from which recovery would be uncertain? Fans remained glued to the narrative, blending reality with speculation, collectively experiencing the emotional storm as though it were unfolding in real time, their imagination turning private vulnerability into a public spectacle. In the final chapter of the Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees saga, the spotlight shifted firmly onto Yandy Smith as fans and followers watched her imagined journey from heartbreak to empowerment, witnessing a transformation that blended resilience, self-awareness, and emotional clarity. After days of speculation, online debates, and imagined confrontations, the narrative depicted Yandy slowly reclaiming control over her life, choosing herself over uncertainty, and prioritizing her peace and happiness above the chaos surrounding her marriage. Social media commentary painted scenes of quiet reflection, Yandy sitting in stillness, processing emotions, revisiting memories of loyalty, love, and betrayal, and making deliberate choices about what she would no longer tolerate. Fans described how she might have started distancing herself emotionally from Mendeecees, observing his silence and evasiveness, while deciding that her worth could not be defined by someone else's secrecy or actions. The imagined support of Travis Cure amplified this emotional arc, presenting him as a stabilizing presence who provided empathy, understanding and trust without judgment, reinforcing the idea that Yandy deserved genuine, respectful companionship. Discussions online emphasized how small gestures, words of encouragement, and quiet attentiveness could help someone rebuild after betrayal. And fans projected this onto Yandy's evolving relationship with Travis, imagining moments of laughter, shared dreams, and mutual respect that signaled a path toward healing. At the same time, commentary highlighted her agent's Yandy was no longer reacting to rumors, gossip, or social pressure. She was actively shaping her narrative, making conscious decisions that reflected self-respect, emotional maturity, and long-term vision. The imagined climax showed her confronting the remnants of heartbreak, asserting boundaries with Mendeecees, and embracing clarity about her future, transforming pain into empowerment. Social media threads erupted with praise, speculation, and support as fans discussed how the journey from betrayal to self-affirmation resonated universally, illustrating the strength required to step away from toxicity and toward personal growth. Every imagined moment planning a new chapter, confiding in trusted friends, envisioning a hopeful future was interpreted as a symbolic reclaiming of power, a statement that heartbreak could be transformed into resilience. And as the narrative approached its conclusion, the central sentiment became clear. Yandy Smith had emerged from a storm of rumors, betrayal and emotional strain, not broken, but stronger, fully aware of herself and ready to embrace hope, authenticity, and love on her own terms. This final chapter left the audience reflecting on empowerment, the importance of emotional clarity, and the possibility of finding peace and new beginnings even after the most public and painful upheavals.